Here is what almost nobody explaining this story is making clear from the start. This is not about Nigeria's presidency. It's about the Nigerian Bar Association's presidency, and a court has just been asked to stop the swearing-in of the woman who won it using a lawsuit that wasn't even originally about the election at all. While everyone's reacting to the headline, almost nobody is asking the sharper question: why did the plaintiffs choose to attach this challenge to an unrelated pre-existing case instead of filing something new, and why are they trying to pull international election monitors into a dispute over who leads Nigeria's lawyers? Stay with me. This is a story about institutional legitimacy, and it's playing out inside the one profession responsible for defending everyone else's legal rights. Before we go further, if you're new here, this channel exists for one reason: to give Nigerians the political analysis mainstream media won't. Hit subscribe and stay with me. This gets deeper. Oyinkansola Badejo-Okusanya San was declared winner of the Nigerian Bar Association's national officers election, securing 12,317 votes to defeat Lateef Kakangbe San and Olumuyiwa Akimboro San in a poll conducted through electronic voting. She is scheduled to be sworn in as the NBA's 33rd president on August 21, 2026, succeeding outgoing President Afam Osigwe San. On July 20, 2026, a group of lawyers filed additional reliefs within an existing federal high court suit, specifically asking the court to restrain the NBA from swearing in Badejo-Okusanya or any other person into national office pending final determination of the case. The additional reliefs were filed by the Incorporated Trustees of the Association of Legislative Drafting and Advocacy Practitioners, ALDRAP, within its pre-existing suit against the Attorney General of the Federation and the NBA, numbered FHC/ABJ/CS/1471/2026. The plaintiff is separately seeking to formally join Badejo-Okusanya, Akimboro, Akangbe, Amnesty International's Nigeria office, YIAGA, and the Transition Monitoring Group as parties to the case. This filing arrives immediately after both defeated presidential candidates publicly rejected the election results' credibility, citing widespread technical failures and irregularities in the electronic voting process. That immediate post-election controversy created the context within which this new legal challenge landed, even though the underlying lawsuit it's attached to predates the election itself. This election cycle has faced legal challenges from before the vote even occurred. Roughly 2 weeks earlier, 4 lawyers obtained a court order temporarily restraining the NBA's Electoral Committee, chaired by Aham Ejelam San, pending a hearing on the process's legitimacy. The Court of Appeal set that order aside, allowing the election to proceed as scheduled. The presidency itself was zoned to the Southwest this cycle after the Midwest Bar opted out of contesting, having already produced 2 recent NBA presidents, Augustine Alege and Olumide Akpata. Attaching new reliefs to an existing suit rather than filing an entirely new case is a recognized procedural strategy in Nigerian civil litigation, and it can offer genuine tactical advantages, potentially faster court engagement given the case is already active, and an existing case number and history the plaintiff can build upon. However, it also creates a specific vulnerability. The court may find that reliefs this different in subject matter, an election swearing-in dispute added to a senior counsel ranking dispute, don't properly belong within the same suit, a procedural objection the NBA's legal team would likely raise. We asked earlier whether attaching this challenge to an unrelated existing suit strengthens or weakens the plaintiff's case. Based on standard Nigerian civil procedure, this strategy carries real risk. Courts generally expect relief sought within a single suit to relate to a common set of facts or legal questions, and a swearing-in challenge grafted onto a senior counsel ranking dispute may face an early procedural challenge over whether it's properly before the court at all, entirely separate from the substantive question of whether the election itself was conducted fairly. This means the case could be decided or delayed on a technical joinder question before ever reaching the underlying election integrity allegations. It remains unclear whether the court will accept the plaintiff's request to join Badejo-Okusanya, the defeated candidates, and the international and civil society bodies as parties, a threshold procedural question that will likely be addressed before the substantive swearing-in challenge itself. It's equally unclear how the specific, widespread technical failures allegations from the defeated candidates relate, if at all, to Aldrav's own legal grounds for seeking to block the swearing-in, since Aldrav's original suit didn't originate from an election integrity complaint.
The defeated candidates, Akangbe and Akingboro, benefit from any legal process that delays or reopens scrutiny of a result they've already publicly rejected, even if they are not the parties who filed today's specific reliefs. ALDRAP benefits from expanded public and institutional attention to its broader grievances against the NBA and AGF, since the swearing-in challenge, regardless of its ultimate success, keeps its underlying Blue Silks dispute in the news alongside a much higher-profile controversy. The NBA's institutional credibility faces genuine risk from a second court intervention in the same election cycle, regardless of this specific challenge's merits, since repeated legal disputes over its own leadership process raise fair questions about the association's internal electoral machinery. Badejo-Okusanya personally faces the most direct exposure. Even if she ultimately prevails, having her swearing-in publicly contested in court is not the transition any incoming president would want. How this dispute resolves carries real consequences for how future NBA elections are conducted and challenged. If courts prove willing to entertain leadership challenges attached to unrelated existing suits, that could establish a lower procedural bar for future electoral challenges within the association, a precedent NBA leadership would likely want to avoid regardless of this specific case's outcome. The southwest zoning of this presidency cycle adds a specific regional dimension to the stakes. Badejo-Okusanya's win and any successful legal challenge to it directly affects whether the southwest legal community's zoned turn at NBA leadership proceeds as arranged or faces disruption, a genuinely relevant consideration given how seriously Nigerian professional and political bodies typically treat zoning arrangements once established. The tens of thousands of ordinary NBA members who voted in this election and who have no direct voice in this specific court proceeding are the stakeholders whose collective democratic choice is most directly implicated by any judicial intervention in the outcome, regardless of which side ultimately prevails. Now, if what I just told you surprises you, drop a comment below. I want to know what you think before we get to the part that changes everything. The Nigerian Bar Association occupies a unique institutional position. Its members constitute much of the country's judiciary, legal academia, and legal profession, meaning disputes over its own internal democratic legitimacy carry weight beyond the association itself, touching public confidence in the broader legal establishment's ability to govern itself credibly. Prolonged leadership uncertainty at the NBA carries practical costs for the association's operations, member welfare initiatives of the kind Badejo-Okusanya has already pledged to prioritize, and its broader advocacy functions, all of which depend on a clearly recognized, uncontested leadership able to act with full authority. This dispute has not, based on available reporting, taken on any religious or ethnic dimension, and this script should note that explicitly and positively. Unlike several other institutional disputes this channel has covered, this remains a procedural and electoral integrity dispute rather than one drawing on communal or religious fault lines. The plaintiff's request to join Amnesty International's Nigeria office, YIAGA, and the Transition Monitoring Group as parties is a deliberate attempt to invoke organizations with established credibility in monitoring electoral integrity, organizations far more commonly associated with national elections than internal professional association disputes. Whether the court grants this joinder request will itself be a significant early signal of how seriously it intends to treat this case's electoral integrity dimension. For Yoruba diaspora legal professionals in the UK and US, many of whom maintain NBA membership or professional ties to Nigeria's legal establishment, this dispute carries direct relevance given the presidency's Southwest zoning this cycle. Diaspora lawyers with an interest in Nigerian legal governance should watch whether this challenge succeeds, since it directly affects whether the Southwest zoned turn at NBA leadership proceeds as the broader legal community anticipated. Disputed elections within professional and civil society associations, not just national governments, are a recognized governance challenge internationally, and how credibly an association's internal judicial and procedural mechanisms resolve such disputes is often read as a broader indicator of institutional health within that country's civil society more generally.
The strongest version of the plaintiff's position holds that genuine, widespread technical failures in an electronic voting system, if proven, would represent a legitimate electoral integrity concern, regardless of which existing lawsuit the challenge happens to be attached to procedurally, and that seeking international and civil society oversight reflects genuine concern about transparency rather than mere procedural maneuvering. Misconceptions circulating in public discourse. 1. That this is Nigeria's national presidency being contested. It is the Nigerian Bar Association's internal leadership, a professional association election, not a national political one. 2. That this is a freshly filed lawsuit created specifically to target Badejo-Okusanya. It is a set of additional reliefs added to a pre-existing case originally concerned with unrelated matters. 3. That the court has already ruled on any aspect of this challenge. As of this recording, the additional reliefs have only just been filed. No judicial determination, interim or final, has yet been made. For Southwest Nigeria's legal community specifically, this dispute's resolution matters beyond the individual candidates involved. The region's zoned turn at NBA leadership, secured after the Midwest Bar's voluntary step back, represents a genuine institutional opportunity for Southwest-based lawyers to shape the association's national priorities. The Southwest's specific interest lies in this transition proceeding on a credible, uncontested footing, sense a leadership challenge that succeeds on narrow procedural grounds rather than substantive electoral integrity findings would leave the region's zoned opportunity clouded by a technicality rather than resolved on the merits.
How this dispute resolves will likely shake the procedural standards applied to future NBA elections and any challenges to them, and more broadly will factor into public and professional confidence in the association's capacity to manage its own internal democracy credibly, a reputation with consequences extending well beyond this single election cycle. We opened by clarifying what this story actually is. Not a challenge to Nigeria's national presidency, but a court fight over the leadership of the country's own bar association, using a lawsuit that wasn't originally about the election at all. The question this video asked was whether that procedural strategy and the attempt to bring in international election monitors actually strengthens this challenge or exposes it to an early technical dismissal. The honest answer is that both outcomes remain genuinely possible, and this case may well be decided on a procedural joinder question before it ever reaches the substantive election integrity allegations at its heart. The national interest conclusion and Southwest Nigeria's specific stake in it is this: the region's zoned opportunity at NBA leadership deserves to proceed on a credible, clearly resolved footing, whether that means the swearing-in proceeds as scheduled or the underlying integrity concerns receive the substantive hearing they'd need to justify delaying it. Drop your take in the comments.
Do you think this challenge reflects genuine electoral integrity concerns or a procedural long shot attached to an unrelated case? If this analysis gave you clarity, share it with one person who needs to understand what's really happening. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.